Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to tackle a skill that can turn those super awkward, uncomfortable interactions into real, genuine connections.
You know that feeling? You meet someone new, you say your names, and then crickets. That awful dead silence. If you've ever felt that, maybe you've seen posts on Reddit from people saying, I just have no idea what to say next. Well, you are definitely not alone. And the good news? We can fix that.
So here's the thing. Being able to build rapport, to really talk to anyone, it's not some magic power you're either born with or you're not. As Julia Martins from Asana puts it, it's a skill. And just like any other skill, with the right guidelines and a little practice, you can absolutely learn to master it.
So, here's our game plan. We're going to start with the basics. What is rapport, really? Then we'll get into the practical stuff, the art of listening, how to master small talk, and reading body language. And we'll wrap it all up with how to make this stuff an actual habit. All right, let's jump right into part one. Before we can start building it, we've got to know what we're aiming for. So, what exactly is rapport?
At its core, rapport is just that feeling, right? That sense of connection you get with someone. It's all built on a foundation of mutual respect. When you have rapport, the other person feels like you actually see them, you hear them, and you value what they have to say. And this isn't about faking it. It's about being genuinely open. And why should you care? I mean, what's the big deal? Well, the benefits are huge, not just at work, but in your personal life too. Building rapport isn't just about having better chats. It builds real trust. It makes feedback, even tough feedback, way easier to give and receive. It actually creates effective communication.
Okay, let's get into our first practical skill. And honestly, this one's a biggie. It's the foundation of every single great conversation, but it's the one we totally overlook most of the time: listening.
So, let's get something straight right away. There's a huge difference between hearing and listening. Hearing is passive. Sound just happens to hit your eardrums. But active listening, that's a whole different game. It's an intentional practice. You are focusing everything you've got to understand not just the words, but the real meaning, the emotion behind the words. So how do we actually do it? Here are 4 simple guidelines. First, just be present. Seriously, put the phone away. Stop thinking about what you're going to say next. Just focus. Second, ask open-ended questions. And don't worry, we're going to come back to that one. Third, reflect back what you hear. A simple, so it sounds like you're saying, shows you're locked in and make sure you're on the same page. And finally, number 4, withhold judgment. Your goal is to understand them, not to respond with your own hot take. Okay, now for the part that I think a lot of us dread, small talk. It can feel so painful, right? But what if we thought about it differently? What if it's not a chore, but actually an opportunity?
This is a great tip from Wondermind. The very first step to getting better at small talk is just changing your mindset about it. Instead of seeing it as this meaningless, awkward hurdle you have to jump over, think of it as the gateway. It's your chance to find those little sparks of common ground that can light up a real connection.
And one of the simplest, most powerful tips is to just tweak your questions. Instead of the classic, "How was your weekend?" which almost always gets you a "good, you?" Try asking, "What was the highlight of your weekend?" See the difference? That little change invites a story, an actual piece of information you can build on.
Okay, but what if you're totally stuck? Your mind goes blank. Here's a fantastic, super easy framework to remember. FORM. It stands for family, occupation, recreation, and mission. These are 4 areas that pretty much guarantee you can get someone talking about what they actually care about. It gives you all these different paths to explore to find that common ground.
All right. So you're listening, you're asking better questions, but what you say is only half the battle. Let's talk about what your body is saying when you're not even speaking. Get a load of this number. Experts say that as much as 65% of our communication is unspoken. That's insane. It means if you're only paying attention to the words, you're literally missing most of the conversation. Your body language can either back up what you're saying or it can completely undermine it.
So you got to be intentional here. Think of these as your positive body language toolkit. Making good eye contact, nodding along, that shows you're engaged. A real smile brings warmth. Leading in just a little bit, keeping your arms uncrossed, all of this sends the message, I'm open, I'm here, and I'm interested.
And just as important is knowing what not to do. Crossing your arms is like putting up a physical wall. Looking at your phone or all around the room just screams, I'm bored. Fidgeting like crazy is distracting. And oh, the forced smile. We can all spot that a mile away. These are the little things that can kill a conversation before it even starts. And this quote from a former FBI agent, Joe Navarro, really gets to the heart of why body language is so telling. He talks about the limbic brain, the
the part of our brain that just reacts instantly without thinking. That's why these nonverbal signals are often called honest signals. They can leak our true feelings even when we're trying to hide them with our words.
Okay, we have covered a ton of tips and guidelines for building real connections. But how do you take all of this and actually make it part of who you are so it becomes second nature?
Well, keeping that rapport going is a long-term game. It really boils down to these 4 things. It's about building trust by being reliable. It's about using emotional intelligence to read the room and adapt your style. But really, more than anything, it's about consistency. Strong relationships aren't built in one big moment. They're built through hundreds of small, positive interactions over time.
I really love this quote. It's the perfect way to wrap our heads around this whole thing. This isn't a skill you just learn and then check off a list. It's more like a whole set of practices and habits that you build and refine for the rest of your life. It's a journey, not a destination.
So I want to leave you with a challenge. Think about everything we've talked about in this explainer. Now pick one conversation you're going to have this week. Just one. Maybe it's with a coworker, a friend, even the person making your coffee. What's one thing you can do to consciously improve it? Because that single, intentional effort, that's the first step. That's how you master the art of talking to anyone.